Welcome back, everybody, to DL Day here at CCPS. We're rocking and rolling with our Hour of Science. Coming up next is Rachel Hill over at Salem Middle School, and she's going to be highlighting how to use Google Drawings to create interactives within the science curriculum. But remember, just because it's middle school science does not mean it cannot be elementary math or high school reading. All of these strategies can easily be adapted to different subjects and different grade levels.
Yep. So if you're tuned in live right now and you want to engage with Rachel during her presentation, if you go to bit.ly/DLDCCPS, there is a back channel document. So if you have any questions or wonders while you're watching the presentation, you can put them in there. And if Rachel has time at the end, she will either respond to them in the video or she'll respond to them afterwards. If you are only able to tune into this one and you want to watch some more later, we are posting the videos as they go throughout the day, so you'll be able to come back to this link at any time. This is your one-stop shop for our DLD and CCPS.
All right, so without further ado, here is Rachel over at Salem Middle School.
Hello there, my name is Rachel Hill, thank you Chris and Catherine for the introduction. I love Google Drawings for formative assessments, and I love what you said about using them for more than just science. So this is applicable to everybody, but since I teach life science, all of my examples are within the life science curriculum. So today I'm going to share 5 tips for how to increase your efficiency with using Google Classroom, because we can all save some time. And then I'm going to show you how I use them to quickly grade things, and then discuss 5 ways that I kind of implement them as formative assessments. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you all. And the first thing that I'm going to do is click through and show you kind of some examples. Google Drawings are almost like one slide of a Google slideshow. So there's a canvas in the background and some empty space on the sides that you can use for all sorts of different visuals for students. And I'll be coming back to these at the end. Today I'm going to walk you through how to make this fairly simple one and talk you through the 5 tips for increasing your efficiency. So the first thing that you want to do is to create a new Google Drawing. So in Google Drive, you click the New button. This should look familiar to everybody. If you go down to More, Google Drawing is right down here. And it'll open up a new one. The background, the canvas in the background is this checkerboard pattern. The checkerboard means that it is transparent. So the first thing that I like to do is to choose a background color. Today, because I'm going to use some bright colors, bright green and bright orange, I'm sticking with a neutral color in the back. And then you always want to title your Google Drawing. So this is structural and behavioral adaptation sort. My first tip for increasing efficiency is to create first and then format last, because perfection is the enemy of good. So you want to get all your text and ideas onto the canvas first. So I'm going to go and click my shape tool up here at the top. I forgot to say, I'm assuming that everybody has a basic understanding of the tools in Google Slides and Google Draw. And if you need help finding that, then you can schedule a time with your integrator. So under the shape tool, I'm actually going to go down to callouts because I like this little poppy one. And create first, format last. I'm going to Control C to copy and Control V to paste. About that. I'm going to paste it a bunch of times, get it all over with at once. And then you can separate all the shapes out onto the canvas. So you can see the ease of use here in dragging and dropping. So that's a large part of creating these interactives, is that students can manipulate them how they would like to. So once I have all my shapes, I'm going to put in the information. So bird beaks, we have claws, maybe migration or hibernation. And of course you would continue to fill in the examples for whatever you're having them sort or color code. I'm going to stop here for time's sake. So the second tip for increasing efficiency is to select multiples, and there's 3 ways to do that. One is to shift click. So when you hold down the shift key, I can select any grouping that I would like, and it will only move those or change the format of the ones that I select. So shift click, or you can drag to select. So that's what I like to do when I'm trying to select almost all of the objects. So drag to select, and then you can format all at the same time. So I'm going to use the fill color at the top, the little paint bucket, to fill in the, background. And then you can change the outline as well as change the thickness of the outline. I like a thicker outline because it makes it seem a little bit more professional. And then again, in order to format a shape, you have to be selected, and then all of your tools shows up here. So I can continue with my font that I want, and I can change the size of the font, and I can center my text, as well as underneath of the regular alignment tools, there's a vertical alignment tool, so you can align it to the top, to the center of the object, or towards the bottom. So I like to align everything centered. And you can adjust the shapes as you need to for each of the individual texts. So first, create first, format last, select multiples, and then the third tip for increasing efficiency is using the empty space. So we have this great workspace in here for the students, but there's not really space for directions. So I'm going to create a new shape on the side. I'm going to create a new shape on the side and put my directions here. Structural, so I'm going to say turn the structural adaptations green. I'm even going to give my students a hint what it looks like. And then I even like to try and minimize the amount that I'm typing. So I'm going to copy and paste the shape and put it on the other side and just change the text that I need to. So turn the behavioral adaptations orange. And this is what it acts like, or how it acts. It's proper grammar. Again, I can use my shift click to select multiple shapes and format just one time. So you really want to minimize how much you are formatting, because you don't want to have to go through the motions 12 to 15 times. I can change the text shape, and then for each one, I can go back individually and change the color. So create first, format last, select multiples, use the empty space on the side. That is orange, not green. And then the fourth and fifth tips for increasing efficiency are color coding and creating keys. So they kind of come along together. So I'm going to make a copy of this document, and I'm going to title it Structural and Behavioral Adaptation Sort Key. And that way I can color code just like the students would do. So any of my structural adaptations, and say these ones maybe were structural, those ones I would turn green. And then the behavioral adaptations, I can shift click and turn those orange. And then all of a sudden I have a copy for the students and a completed answer key that I can use for students who are absent to project on the board so that students can check their own answers. Or I can even print it out if it's a more complicated color coding pattern to use to grade with. So create first, format last, select multiples, use the empty space, color code, and create a key. The reason why color coding is so important is because when you're in Google Classroom, the students, when they complete it, it shows up as a preview. And if I've color coded everything, then I do not have to click on any of their documents. I can see easily that there is some disagreement about this one, and I can go back to my key and see that that was camouflage, that one in here. So we had a discussion about that because everybody's was a little bit different. The other way you can use it is by choosing the preview option in the folder in Google Drives. So by choosing preview, you can scroll through each of the students so that it shows up like that. The thumbnails in preview, that's a great way to grade quickly. It's a great way to grade quickly. And the last thing that I'm going to talk about here in the last few minutes is the different ways that you can use Google Drawings for science, and also really all subjects. But for science, there's a lot of different categories that kind of seem to come up over and over. So in science, matching, sorting, and classifying is like with identifying independent, dependent variables, types of reactions, ionic and covalent. You just saw the adaptation. So there's all different types of categories, even just matching vocabulary words. So this is a more complicated version. So I did the same thing with the shapes, and I have many more colors going on over here. And this is a table. So if you go to table, insert table, I can create a table in my Google drawing. And so students can drag and drop for the examples. This one they had to highlight the word as well that they use as the context clue. And then I love that in Google Drawings you can link out. So this links out to a website to help students to make them more autonomous before they come ask me. So here, again, matching, sorting, classifying. There's a direction bar using that empty space. Need help, click here. They drag and drop to identify the picture, and then they sort the vocabulary. Moving into the second way to use them in science, we have lots of diagrams and processes that students find difficult to visualize. So you could even do this with balancing equations with visuals. You can make shapes for each of the different types of atoms and have students balance equations with shapes before they go into the numbers. This is a really simple nitrogen cycle drawing, and this one has dots and arrows so students know where to put it, but you can adjust it to the level of your students. Again, a process diagram, just another way to visualize photosynthesis. I like this one because it has questions on the side. Sometimes I have them type in the questions. I would have to open them to read the answers, or sometimes I have them write their answers in complete sentences on notebook paper. So they'll do the Google drawing, we'll check it, and then I grade the written part at home. This one is a student example. So this was a project that our eighth graders did here with our 8th grade teachers. And I use this with permission, but they had to create a simple machine playground. So you can use this for content mastery. So if students are familiar with them, then you can use it for them to create projects. And if you get their permission, you can even use them in your class for the next year. The other two ways are scaffolding and differentiation. These are the last two ways that I kind of use them. This one I love because they start with, this one I created these shapes, and we go through to what I actually want them to be able to do to match the complementary strands. And then there's extension links here at the bottom. So that's a good way to scaffold as well as differentiate. So once you create one of these, you can just make a copy and adjust it for the next level. So you put time into the first one, but not so many in for the other ones. So here there's hints and tips on the side that shows them how to do Punnett squares. Level 2 gets a little bit harder, and I remove supports as you get to level 4. And this is great because you can have students start where they would like to. So I only have about 2 minutes left. So I'll get to anybody else's questions that I don't see up on the board. And I think if there are no questions, then I can send it back to Chris and Catherine. Thank you so much for listening.
All right, thank you so much, Rachel. That was a great way to showcase what I think is like an underutilized tool in the Google Suite is Google Draw, but also tying it into differentiation too with hard concepts in middle school science, such as sequencing DNA. So great job. Thank you for sharing all of that. Coming up next, keeping with the science theme, we're going to have technology integrator Kathy Marr and Nicole Rowland, a science teacher from Providence Middle School, coming up showing us PhET simulations. So stay tuned for that.